Yo, what's up, guys? It's your man's Armand here for E equals MCU, and we're going to go ahead and get into this Moon Knight wrap-up review for Episode 5 and Episode 6, and just kind of get my final thoughts on this series. Starting off, just where they left with Mark and Steven going into Tauret and being on that plane, talking to the goddess. And the whole balance thing, figuring out the balance thing, it does seem like Steven had to go in order for Mark to find the balance. What is not clear is that when Mark goes back for Steven, how does that work exactly, since he didn't have the balance to begin with. But we get some more, and I got a couple theories here on him being in the asylum and what that actually means and going forward. But basically, Steven sacrifices himself for Mark, and we find out that Mark Spector is the original person. He is the personality. He's the original person. We get a lot of the backstory between him and his mother, and what transpired with him losing his brother, and how that affected him, and the fact that Stephen Grant is a character from a TV show that he created. Now, one thing I will say, and I'm kind of jumping around here, but about Tauret, it reminds me of the movie Soul. There was a Pixar movie that called Soul that came out last year, I believe. And in that movie, they're in a place that's very similar to Tauret, and that's where the souls go. If you haven't seen that aspect of that show, I would recommend watching that. It better explains kind of what this was going into, and since it's a cartoon, maybe more so for children, but it wasn't really meant for children. Like, that is really a deep concept that goes over most people's heads. But that's basically what I like in Tauret too. So now, Mark, there's the tease of Jake Lockley in the tomb. We talked about that before they ran into the goddess. And going through this episode, and right now I'm on episode 5 first, because those are the events. It was very, I don't even know the word for it. It put it at a point where I didn't think they would be able to explain and be able to wrap all of this up within the last episode, which is episode 6. And the fact that we only got 6 episodes, I do want a season 2. I don't think we're going to get a season 2. I think the character's story will evolve and probably be in the Midnight Suns, because it looks like that's where they're going with their setting up with the Werewolf by Night. You could see him pop up maybe in that. I'll have to find out some more information on it. That should be shooting. If it's coming out in October, it should be shooting now, if not already shot. So maybe he pops up in that. But it was reported that Oscar Isaac only signed on for this one project. Now, what that does is, and the reason why I believe that's the case, is Marvel Studios doesn't like to they like to get top tier talent. A lot of top tier talent does not like to be locked into 8-9 year contracts or 9 movie appearances or whatever have you. I think they wanted to see how this played out and how it worked, and then kind of go from there as far as what they were going to do. So I think he could be back. I think Oscar Isaac could be back. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a Moon Knight season 2. It could be a situation where we have, like with WandaVision, and where his story is going on to be told in someone else's project. They're definitely going on a darker aspect. I don't know if that's all going to be on Disney Plus or what have you, but what we basically get, and going into episode 6 here, Gods and Monsters, we get the conclusion that I didn't think they could do. We get the Ammit, the goddess Ammit, finally brought back by Harrow, and I must say that the CGI on her looked really good. It looked very accurate to what they would look like, or as far as the hieroglyphs would project them to be. Now, Harrow goes through and he kills all of the gods, or he tries to kill all of the gods. He brings back Ahmet, and basically we get this huge fight between Ahmet and Khonshu. Now, we knew that Khonshu was going to be brought back. They reached out to have the other goddess, and it's escaping my name, but you know, the whole Avatar thing. Khonshu tried to get her to be the Avatar, and smartly she declined. Now that's going to come back into play by the end of this, but I do think that Layla and the way they set her up, we could definitely be seeing her character again as she frees Khonshu. Khonshu and Ahmed have a fight. Mark goes back to get Steven in that plane, the Tararet, and they actually walk through the doors. They come back together, so then they're re-brought back to life. Khonshu can sense it. We get MoonKnight back, and I mean, everything hits the fan, basically, man. I mean, now Steven's personality to MoonKnight is able to, you know, basically control his powers and be a superhero as Mr. Knight, and then you also have MoonKnight. So I know that's a lot different from the comics. Let me know down in the comment section if you agree with that or not, if you like that, if you didn't. That aspect of it, I don't know. I guess maybe it just made sense for them. I'm jumping around here. We'll get to that at the end as far as with the season 2. Anyway, cool part, just sticking with it. Layla becomes the Avatar for oh gosh, why am I, is the name escaping me now? The goddess Tararet, I think, is that her name? Yeah, okay, I think that's how you say it. She becomes the Avatar, and the actress does a pretty good job, just as Oscar Isaac does, in portraying two different characters and capturing the hippo's personality. I keep calling her the hippo, Tararet's personality, and she becomes the Scarlet Scarab. And that's funny because the whole time Khonshu was calling her little bug and everything. I wonder if the powers are manifested somehow through the soul as to what they become or whatever the case may be. But with her being a Scarlet Scarab, and there's the whole part in there that I'm sure is cringe for some people out there, who, she saves this young girl. She says, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" She basically says, "You're an Egyptian superhero." She's like, "Yeah, I do hope that we get to see more of her. I hope her character comes back as well, and something. Maybe she'll be part of the Midnight Suns. I don't know. Depending on what they do. But I think that is pretty cool. I do wish that the series went a little deeper into the lore with the Egyptian thing, but I understand they have a story to tell. They're not just necessarily trying to, tell old Egyptian, stories, I guess, or whatnot. It had a feel. I wish it was a little bit more National Treasure, like a little bit more, like, I don't want to say less CGI, but they didn't really. I didn't get the feel that I got from those movies. And I kind of wish that we got that a little bit more. But going on, I don't want to go on too far with this. The gods get huge. They have a huge fight with each other, and Mr. Knight and MoonKnight fight with the Scarlet Scarab to stop Harrow, which of course they did. It's that's the show. That's what they do. But the part that I wanted to get to was the end. And when Mark's in the hospital and he's talking to Harrow, he's in the asylum, and that asylum is fake. When he sees the blood on the shoes, and it's like almost like Harrow didn't even know that he was in a fake construct of the mind. I want to say it was kind of a surprise to him. Like, if you look at his reaction of what was going on as Mark figures it out. And then of course Mark wakes up from it, and he's back in his room, and he's tired, and him and Steven are coinciding. Now the end credit scene, if you know, and here's the thing, this is where it all comes down to. The end credit scene when Arthur Harrow's in the asylum, I want everyone to notice that the lighting was very different. It was not the same as the asylum that Mark was in. That was very pristine, very white. The one that Arthur Harrow was in had a very yellowish green tint to it. So I'm assuming that he was in a real asylum as Mark was not. That's my thought. And then, of course, like as I've been saying throughout the series, we get our first look at Jake Lockley. We knew there was a third personality. He's the sinister one, and Khonshu, you know, being in the limo, like that's what the reason why people want a season 2 is because of this end scene. You know, them two together working on a level like that, and everything that Khonshu was saying to Arthur Harrow about, you know, Mark being more disturbed than he thinks. Like that's where I see a lot of storyline in that to me needs to be told in a separate season 2 of MoonKnight, in where they can kind of explore that and get deeper in that. If he does any kind of team up thing, a lot of that's gonna have to probably get skipped over. So for me, that's the reason why I want a season 2. I would like for them to explore that aspect and tell more stories. Now, overall, my thoughts on this is a very standalone story. It's not really connected to the MCU, but it is in the MCU. Personally, I kind of like this. I think that they need to not have everything so connected, and you can have the room for certain stories to be told without it having, you know, bigger consequences or having to mention the Avengers or whatever. I just noticed too in the limo when he drove away, it's a Spectre. So it's like they got a lot more story to go in there because, you know, he's got the money and everything. So I definitely want to see a season 2. Let me know if you guys want a season 2 of Moon Knight on Disney Plus, or do you want to just see them team up? You know, the end credit scene, and that's a whole nother personality that we didn't get to really meet. I feel like that was done on purpose. They're just probably waiting on the reception on it, and then probably this summer at the because I believe they're going to be doing Comic-Con this summer. They're probably making some sort of announcement. Echo, I believe, is shooting now, and I want to say Ironheart is shooting now as well. Armor War should be starting soon. Secret Invasion, should be finishing soon. So this summer we should get first looks at a couple things, and then we should get some more announcements for maybe Daredevil, Disney Plus series, and we should get word on the Moon Knight season 2. So, but this does give me hope for Daredevil because they were able to tell a much more mature story with this, and it was a little bit more, in its own little pocket of the universe. So that gives me hope. Let me know down in the comment section how you guys feel about it. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. All Moon Knight fans, you know what it is. Let us skate us.